If you want to stay up to date with all current hip hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to become part of this community. So, today we got reports about a very interesting Kanye West documentary. And you've probably seen the headlines, you've probably seen, it being sold to Netflix for $30 million. And in this video, I kind of wanted to go over all the details of this situation and kind of go over what this means for us as Kanye fans and what this whole thing is about. So first of all, the very important details about this is that this documentary will feature more than 2 decades of material from, behind the scenes Kanye West studio sessions and private life. And there's some more details that we already know that I want to go into a bit later, but that's huge. Kanye is a very public figure who's been in a lot of public situations, most recently his divorce with Kim Kardashian. So he's someone who, the public has its eye on, and this will be just an even more transparent view into his life. This documentary is directed by Kudi and Shaik, or I'm not very sure how to pronounce their names. But this is a duo that has worked on previous Kanye West stuff as well. We've seen them direct the videos for Through the Wire and Jesus Walks, so they're very familiar and hands-on with past Kanye stuff, so they know what they're talking about. And this documentary that we're talking about doesn't have a title yet, or any more details than just that we know that it exists. And the reports are saying that it's been sold to Netflix for $30 million. This, very specific amount of money is not confirmed. This is just a report, but I'm very sure Netflix paid a lot of money. I can even see this going for more than $30 million. So when I saw this, I was like, $30 million, that's all? Because we're talking about Kanye West, one of the most influential musicians and artists over the past 2 decades. So, very important man in recent pop culture, and this documentary is probably going to do really well. We've seen the Travis Scott documentary go crazy on Netflix, so I think this is just the next step in that kind of artists following documentary. But anyway, some more details about this. They've been, this team, Kudi and Shaik, they've been following Kanye ever since the early 2000s. And they've had exclusive insight into his private life during his come up in Chicago. This will also go over the death of his mother, Donda. This article says his political evolution, then his kind of forward push into the fashion industry and kind of his first steps in there, and how he established himself as a prominent figure in streetwear and fashion. And then also most recently his 2020 presidential campaign, which, as we all know, didn't go quite as well for him. But I think that's also going to be very interesting to see what kind of, inside information there is in this documentary about that, because we've seen him publicly, become very emotional while addressing his, or on his rallies. We've seen him kind of break down in tears in, I think it was North Carolina. So maybe some more insight in that will be very interesting. Now, Kanye himself doesn't have any creative side in this whole, production, in this whole product. So he's just allowed them to film him for 2 decades, which is crazy. But with things like this, I always think back then in 2000, and when was this? 2001. Kanye was just coming up producing for Jay-Z. How could he have known that, he was gonna be still here in 20 years? I mean, it's Kanye, of course. He was, of course, very convinced of himself, but still, how can someone then film this and also expect that? So I find this very impressive that they've gone with this for 2 decades now. So that'll be very interesting to see how they work with the material they have, and how they maybe do flashbacks to earlier stuff and all that. So that's very interesting. Now, one big thing that immediately came to my mind when I read this story was, why didn't we know about this? Why didn't we know that there was a Kanye West documentary in the works? Let me know if y'all knew about that, because I for sure didn't. Like, I never heard of this. I haven't even heard of the team Cootie and Chike or Shike yet. Up to this day, I didn't know they directed the videos for Through the Wire and Jesus Walks, but that they've been working on this is something that I was just oblivious of. Let me know, did you know that there was a Kanye West documentary? Because if that's not the case, then this is also a big announcement, of course. And another thing that I just want to mention, because it's also something that immediately came to my mind in kind of hand in hand with the fact that we didn't know about this, is why haven't we seen people always following around Kanye with cameras? Like, didn't someone notice them at some point? I know there's always a lot of cameras on Kanye, and sometimes we don't have this insight into studio sessions and behind the scenes like they do, but at some point, this, should have become uncovered. So that's like a big question I have. But if y'all have any more info on that, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm really interested in that. Other than that, I think very personal points in his life are going to be very interesting to watch, not just from like a very creepy perspective, like, oh, I want to see how he felt in that situation, but more of coming from the side that Kanye is a very interesting persona in hip-hop, in pop culture, as just a person. He's someone who I would love to sit down and have a conversation with, and not just about his music, about everything, because I think his mind works in a very interesting way, and to see how he kind of copes with, for example, the death of his mother, Donda, who his album that's never now dropping is named after, how he dealt with that, how he coped with that, I think would be very interesting, and we could all learn a lot from that. And in general, maybe there's a lot of moments we didn't even know happened in Kanye's life that we now can get some more light shed on, and I think that's going to be really cool for fans. I think we're going to get a lot more insight into how his brain works and just his personal life in this documentary. There's no release date yet, but it's been sold to Netflix, so maybe Netflix will put their own spin on it, just like they did for Travis Scott. But the material has been accumulated for over 2 decades now, ever since the early 2000s, and now it's in Netflix hands to kind of do their job and put this together into a story, into a coherent documentary. And I think this will really do well. Like, this will be a big thing. This will be a lot of people are going to want to see this. So big move for Netflix. Let me just say that. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. Are you excited for this Kanye West documentary? When do you think we'll actually, end up getting it? Do you think there'll be more years still to come that they'll want to film him? Do you think that they kind of want to just take these past 2 decades and put him into documentary form, and then maybe start something new for the next 20 years of his lives, or of his life? Let me know in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media and blog down in the description. It really helps me out. Until the next one, y'all have an incredible day, and y'all take care.